Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to the Matchday -1 press conference ahead of Milan Venezia. We'll start with Milan Suma. 70,000 fans are expected at San Siro for Milan Venezia tomorrow night. 70,000 fans that you can use as a starting point again that you need to try and honour, aren't you, ahead of a busy run of games? After the first three matches, it's a great display of love, the fact that 70,000 fans are going to turn out tomorrow. And of course, that is a responsibility for us. We need to keep progressing to make sure that we can make the fans proud of the team. And that's what we want to do tomorrow. We want to reward the fans' support. Sky. Good afternoon, Paolo. You want to pay back the support of your fans, so I wanted to ask you, the fact that you've only got 2 points after a month, is the game against Venezia as important as the two matches following that? It's not as tough, but is it as big as the Liverpool and the Inter games? They're all very important matches, and even more so at this moment in time, given that we haven't won any of our first three games. However, it's always important to win. I'm confident, as I always am. It's important to win, and after that, we'll then think about the Liverpool game and the derby after that. But I think we have to be focused on tomorrow night's match, which is an important game for us. I also wanted to ask you in terms of Theo Hernandez and Rafael Leao, not about the cooling break, because that's been put behind you, but you did leave them out of the Lazio game because there was something that you hadn't necessarily seen from them. Now they've come back from the international break. Have they come back with a different attitude? And will we see them start tomorrow? I don't know whether they'll start the game. We'll see tomorrow. But what I've seen since the international break, just like all of the other guys, they're two players who've got a great aura, there's a great atmosphere, they're very cheerful around the training ground, and that's always the case. Rai.
Buongiorno mister.
Good afternoon, Gaffer.
In questa pausa per le nazionali si è un po' scritto e letto di tutto.
A lot has been written and said about the club over the international break. Do you feel under the microscope at this stage? I'm always under the microscope. We coaches are always under the microscope. We rely on results. But what I must say is that I'm solely focused on the job at hand. I don't think you can ever do things differently. If you're focused about what people are saying or writing in the press, then it becomes very difficult to work. We all need to work to try and improve, and that's what I'm doing. DAZN. Hi Gaffer, good afternoon. A question about Tijani Reinders, who's playing very well for the Netherlands, is scoring a lot of goals as well with his late runs. In the future, could we see him playing slightly higher up the pitch and perhaps not too deep as a playmaker, because it feels like he's got goals in his game as well? Yes, that is an option. And I think he has that skill set. When I think about the dynamics of the team, I try and pick the players in the best possible position as per their skill set. We haven't looked at TG a little bit further up the pitch because the team hasn't actually been attacking too much. We've had a number of moments in that first phase, but we haven't necessarily gone beyond that. That's why we haven't seen TG further up the pitch. We've often paired him with Yusuf Fofana, but I'm always trying to pick the players in the positions which best suit their skill set and attributes. I really enjoyed Tigi's performances for his country. Gazzetta dello Sport. Throughout your career, like all experienced coaches, you've obviously been through some tricky times. I wanted to ask you, in terms of your experience, how did you come through those? What did you do to come through some tricky times in the past? What am I doing now? No, in terms of your experience, in terms of the issues you've encountered over the course of your career, is there a secret to it? I don't know if there is a secret. I keep working with the same passion and confidence, and I'm trying to resolve the issues that the team has encountered over the course of the first 3 matches. At this moment in time, all I must do is think about the team and the work that I have to do with the team and the players. I think that's the secret. Concentrate on the job at hand, finding solutions, and the players themselves, to try and coach and train the team and the players themselves. I think that's the secret. Sport Italia. There's a nice interview on YouTube where you talk about your experience at Shakhtar Donetsk and Roma, and you say that during your time at Roma you decided to defend with a back 3 because you're conceding too many goals. So my question is, could that be a solution for this Milan side, move to a back 3, or could you even have a midfield 3, a 4-3-3? Do you plan to make any tactical changes? With regards to defending, I don't think we'll change. I don't think we'll play with a back 3. But given that we're talking about formations, often we talk about 2+1, 1+2. If you look at top teams, it's just a starting point, because ultimately the dynamics are different. What I can say is, when I talk about structure, so I'm talking about formation, when we're in one phase, phase 1, it's different to what we do in phase 2. And almost all of the top teams start with a 4-2-3-1, but then in phase 2, they're in a 3-5-2. So the dynamics, the team's intentions are more important than the actual rigid formation as a starting point. I think that's what matters most. Il Giornale. Good afternoon, Paolo Fonseca. I wanted to ask you a couple of things. First, over the last few days, have you spoken to Zlatan Ibrahimovic on the phone? Have I spoken to Zlatan Ibrahimovic on the phone? Yes. Okay, got it. Second, you know Maurizio Sarri, he's a coach. I think he's one of the best Italian coaches. Nice one. He coached Ruben Loftus-Cheek in London with Chelsea, and in one of his interviews he said, I think he is a number 8, and he had a league season as a number 8 who was excellent. Zvonimir Boban, you know Boban, he said that he thinks that he needs to play with 3 in the middle of the park based on the attributes of your players. Given that these 2 are experts in the field, is it now time, or over the course of the international break, during the experiments that you've done, have you considered mixing things up in the middle of the park? I always respect other people's advice and their opinions, even more so given the way that Sarri and Boban have done so in a constructive way, so I respect their views. But what I must say is that they are opinions, and I'm the one who works with the players. We don't all have the same ideas. We're different coaches. And I need to follow my beliefs, not what other people believe. Tele Lombardia. Good afternoon, Gaffer. Coming back to what the colleagues have said, a lot has been written and said over the course of the international break, including about the absence of the senior management figures at the club. So I'd like to extend Franco Ordine's question. What's happened with the senior management? It's quite hard for me to talk about this when we speak to each other on a daily basis. It's either here or on the phone, or we go for dinner together. It's difficult to understand why these news stories are coming out when we're constantly in contact. Paolo? Good afternoon. During the international break, have you considered Milan's issues out of possession? Because above all, when you're off the ball, the team keeps conceding when out of possession. We haven't had a lot of players here during the international break because they're all away with their respective countries, but we have had a number of defenders here. I don't think it's merely an issue which pertains to the defensive area of the team. But as I've said, we have worked a great deal on how the defensive line operates and the individual approach within the defensive line, because I think it's also important for defenders. And as I've said, they've stayed here, we've worked here over the last fortnight, and we've worked on those defensive matters. Aria? Good afternoon. I went to watch Venezia against Torino. Venezia lost undeservedly, and they tend to counter a lot, a bit like Parma. Are your Milan side a little bit more ready to actually withstand those counterattacks that Parma caused you so many problems with? And above all, tomorrow night, is only one result, any other result non-negotiable, given the matches you've got coming after that? Do Milan have to win? Milan always have to win. It's not only tomorrow, it's always the case. When we approach any match, we're always trying to win games. We're not thinking about any other result, and the same will go for tomorrow. I watched Venezia's games. It's true. They are very dangerous on the counter. But I think we have made progress since the Parma game, between the Parma and the Lazio matches, because we struggled at that moment against Parma. But I think against Lazio we improved a great deal, because the issue that we faced ultimately at the start came down to defensive shape. Yes, we have worked on that. We're well aware of Venezia's strengths, but I think we are prepared for Venezia's possible threat. Hi, Gaffer. Your squad is now complete, and looking at the makeup of your squad, rather than having characteristics to actually keep the ball, is this more a squad made up of counter-attacking players, players that require space and that can outpace their opponents? As you get to know the players that you're coaching, could you actually move from a possession-based brand of play to a more counter-attacking transitional brand of play? That's a good question. We all believe in our ideas. And with the qualities that we have here, I can't believe that the players with this ability can only play in one way, namely on the counter, sit deep and hit teams on transition. I think top teams have the responsibility to dominate proceedings. Not at this moment in time the way I want things, but this is a big overhaul, a big change that we need to enact. Clearly, this is something that we need to improve. We need to make sure we don't concede so many goals. And a team that doesn't want to concede many goals needs to have more possession. This is a change that we're currently working on. It is different, but the players are grasping the importance of keeping possession and dominating the match with the ball. Bressi. You've often said that you've acknowledged the team's problems. So what exactly are these issues that Milan are currently facing? And one of them is perhaps the fact that you're always conceding the same type of goal with the ball down the flank and across into the middle. What might have prompted that? I don't want to talk about our issues in great detail. I think it's clear for all to see that we have some issues, and that is one of the issues. The way that we have conceded goals, they have been very similar in nature, and that's something we need to improve. Bellomo. Good afternoon. As has been said during the international break, a number of rumours have come about, and they were talking and speculating as to the fact it might be the worst start to a recent Milan season. And yet in the 2010-11 season, Milan had 5 points from 4 games, and Milan won the Scudetto under Massimiliano Allegri. So have you seen that desire from your players that they want to bounce back and send out a message to a disappointed fan base? And is your stated aim still to win the league title? It still is. No shadow of a doubt about that. What can I say? I think it's important to say that again. When you're going through times like these, when you're not getting results, you might see that the team is sad, the team might lack confidence. But what I see on a daily basis is a team that has belief, a team that wants to improve, a happy side that are working in a cheerful way. And that's why I'm very confident these are the signs that the players are giving us. So I couldn't be here otherwise when I see the players working as they have been doing. And that's why I'm still very confident. Then the results are a whole nother matter, but I can't be here in a negative mood when I've seen the way my players are training, and I've got a lot of faith in them as well. Shasha. Good afternoon, Gaffer. Mike Maignan made headlines with his motivational team talk for his France side against Italy. Could he be a leader in this side? Because you've been missing a leader at Milan at times, haven't you? I don't know what Mike Maignan said in the France dressing room. Mike is a big character. I think he's already one of the leaders in the squad. There's no doubt about that. He's already an important player, and he's one of the leaders in the dressing room. And we need leadership like that. We have other players that have just joined the club who can also become leaders. But it's always important to have players like Mike in the squad, players that bring character and personality to the team. Milan Press, good afternoon, Gaffer. I wanted to ask you, what sort of player is Silvano Vos? What have you made of him in training? And where do you expect to pick him as a defensive midfielder, a central midfielder, or a number 10? And when will he be ready for the first team? Vos started training this week with us. I had already watched the player in the past, and he's confirmed that he is a quality player. He wants to get on the ball, he wants to get involved in attacking play, a bit like all of Dutch players in general. He's a very skillful player, and I think he could play both in central midfield and as a number 10. He can play in both spots, but I really like the job that he's done this week in first-team training. With Ismail Bennacer's injury, he, along with Kevin Zeroli, will train with the first team. What I can say is that he confirmed what we'd seen in him. Final question. Good afternoon, Gaffer. Unfortunately, over the last few days, you haven't been able to see your players a great deal because they're away committed on international duty. Could that have an impact on the team you pick tomorrow? Might you pick someone that you've seen a bit more in training at Milanello as opposed to someone who's come back from international duty? I don't think so, because almost everyone was away on international duty.